Take a look at your YouTube subscription feed. There is a $4 billion glitch hidden in plain sight, and chances are, your favorite creator has already been programmed to ignore it. You've noticed the change. The thumbnails look the same, the logos haven't moved, but the soul of the channel feels hollow. The deep dives have been replaced by high-volume, low-effort extraction. Most people blame the algorithm. Most people are wrong. The algorithm didn't change. The ownership did. You aren't watching a creator anymore. You're watching a leveraged asset being sweated for every cent of its remaining brand equity. But to understand why your favorite channels are turning into slop, you first have to understand the code written by people who don't care about the content. They only care about the extraction. The question isn't who is on the screen. The question is, who owns the screen? The architects of this shift aren't YouTubers. They are behemoths like Blackstone, Apollo, and TCG. These firms have quietly deployed over $4 billion to buy the voices you trust. But here is the glitch. When a creator sells, they often sign a key man clause. The face stays the same to maintain the simulation of authenticity, but the legal obligation shifts from the audience to the shareholders. I reached out to 3 major creators who sold their channels for this investigation. All 3 declined to comment, citing non-disclosure agreements that effectively delete their right to tell you who actually owns their voice. They are legally barred from describing the system they now inhabit. They didn't just sell their business, they sold their sovereignty. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a documented financial pivot. And what I found in the deal structures of these acquisitions suggests that the slop isn't a side effect. It's the inevitable conclusion of the contract. We followed the paper trail to the source of the corruption. This is the code that broke YouTube. To understand why your favorite channel is dying, you have to understand the February 20th code. It's the standard operating system for private equity. They take a 2% management fee just for existing, and a 20% cut of the profits. But here's the glitch. To hit those 20% profit targets on a creative business, they can't rely on making better videos. That takes too long. Instead, they use a financial weapon called the Leveraged Buyout, or LBO. In a standard LBO, the firm doesn't buy the company with their money. They buy it with debt and then strap that debt to the company's back like a financial suicide vest. Look at the Tier 1 evidence. When PE firms bought Toys R Us, they loaded it with $5 billion in debt. The company wasn't failing because people stopped buying toys. It failed because it was paying $400 million a year just in interest. It was being eaten alive from the inside by its own purchase price. Now apply that code to a YouTube channel. The PE firm buys the channel for $50 million. They put $40 million of that debt on the channel's books. Now, that channel, which used to focus on quality, has to service massive interest payments every month. The creator is told they need to 5x their output. More uploads, less research, cheaper editors. The slop isn't a choice. It's a debt servicing requirement. This is the extraction protocol. They aren't building a media empire. They are liquidating the audience's trust to pay down a loan they never asked for. They sweat the asset until the original creator burns out and quits, leaving behind a hollowed-out shell of a brand that exists only to harvest remaining AdSense. The math is perfect, the results are profitable, and the content is dead. But if this is so destructive, why is the money still flowing in? At this point, it's easy to point at the guys in the tailored suits in Manhattan and see a simple villain. But the code is more tangled than that. To build a $4 billion acquisition fund, you need a massive source of capital. And that capital isn't coming from some shadowy underworld. It's coming from you. It's coming from the pension funds of teachers, firefighters, and nurses. This is the pension paradox. The villain isn't just a guy in a suit in Manhattan. It's your own retirement fund, unknowingly financing the destruction of the brands you love to maximize a 7% return. The very money you're saving for your future is being used to liquidate the culture you're living in today. The system is cannibalizing the present to pay for a future that might not have anything left worth buying. We are the fuel for the machine that's grinding us down. You aren't just the victim of the glitch, you are the unwitting shareholder. And that makes the slop a lot harder to walk away from. Now the morality isn't clean anymore. It's complicated. And that's exactly how the system stays invisible. If you want to understand the code of the world you're living in, look at the decay of your subscription feed. It is a microcosm of what happened to the American middle class. We are watching the same extraction architecture that hollowed out the Rust Belt, the same code that turned thriving local businesses into boarded-up storefronts, now being applied to the digital commons. This is the incentive glitch. In a healthy system, you are rewarded for creating value. In a glitched system, you are rewarded for extracting it. When the goal is extraction rather than creation, slop isn't a failure. It's the most efficient output of the code. It is the perfect expression of a rigged economy where the goal isn't to build a better product, but to build a more efficient siphon. We've seen this simulation run before. In our look at the Pawn Stars economy, we saw how the system prices your labor at zero the moment it becomes an asset. Private equity isn't just buying channels. They are buying the last piece of the simulation you still thought was real. This is the glitch in the system you live inside. The code is functioning perfectly. It was just never written for you. Everything we've discussed so far, the $4 billion in acquisitions, the debt loading, the pension paradox, it's theoretical until it's applied. But the system doesn't stay in the boardrooms. It eventually reaches the creators you actually care about. Before we look at the specific creator who just triggered this extraction protocol, we need to reset the signal. We need to clear the noise and look at exactly what happens to the human being at the center of the asset once the contract is signed. The math is done. The debt is strapped on. Now, the extraction begins in earnest. Let's look at the evidence of what this actually looks like when a channel begins to bleed. Signal restored. Let's go to the source. I reached out to the firms behind these acquisitions for an explanation on the slop trend. Blackstone didn't respond. TCG pointed to market expansion. But the real answer isn't in a press release. It's in the why I left videos that inevitably follow these deals. Look at the patterns. The creator sells, the budget for research is slashed, and suddenly the person who built the community is gone. They tell you it's burnout. The data tells a different story. Take the exit of the founders at Donut Media or the theorists. These weren't creative choices. They were the result of a system that views a human being as a depreciating asset. He didn't leave because he was tired. He left because he was no longer the architect. He was just a line of code in Blackstone's portfolio. The contract made his creativity a liability and his replacement a mathematical necessity. The human cost isn't a statistic. It's the loss of the last independent voices we had left. When they leave, they aren't just leaving a job. They're leaving a simulation they no longer recognize. And they leave you behind with the bill. The person you trusted is gone. The system that replaced them is just getting started. Most people look at a declining channel and see a creator losing their touch. They see a personality that just got lazy or sold out. We don't look at the surface. We look at the architecture. We see the debt servicing requirements, the 2/20ths extraction model, and the deliberate liquidation of your trust for a 7% return. We look at it and we see the glitch. The goal of this channel is to map the extraction points before they hollow out everything you value. If you're starting to see the code, if you're realizing that the slop in your feed isn't an accident, but a feature, hit subscribe to stay inside the system files. We're building a diagnostic map of a rigged economy, and the signal is clearer when you're part of the patch. We don't need your support. We need your eyes on the code, because the next acquisition has already been signed, and it's a lot closer to home than you think. Welcome to the diagnostic team. Now let's finish the readout. We've mapped the extraction points. We've looked at the debt loading, the 2/20ths code, and the silent liquidation of the creators you trust. Most people want to hear that this is a mistake, that the slop is a failure of the market. But the evidence says otherwise. The system is running exactly as designed. It is a perfect, vampiric machine that converts your attention into interest payments for a loan you never signed for. This isn't the first time we've decoded a system that looked legitimate on the surface. We saw this same wealth psychology in our diagnostic of Pawn Stars, where the house always wins because the house owns the evaluation. Private equity is just the same code running at a billion-dollar scale. The glitches aren't bugs. They are the output. I won't tell you to get angry. I won't tell you to unsubscribe. My job is to give you the readout. Now you've seen the code. What you do with that, that's yours. End of file.